Okay, so we'll start the next unit, that is fifth unit. So radar cross section and radar absorbing materials. Okay, so radar cross section we already discussed. Still more detail we'll go for different types of how we can find out the radar cross section. So with respect to the small targets and also some of the large targets, with respect to the frequency, so what happens in the low frequency and also what happens in the high frequency. So before finding out the radar cross section, we need to know some of the fundamentals, that is what are all the definition of the radar cross section from whatever IEEE defined radar cross section, and also what are all the fundamental parameters need to be known to measure the radar cross section. Say for example, the polarization, the radar size, that is target size, shape. So those and all parameters need to be measured in order to get the proper RCS of a target. And also the wave which is propagating, whether it is linear polarized wave or it is circularly polarized wave. If it is linearly polarized wave, how to convert it to circular polarization, and all those things we need to know before finding out the radar cross section. And also since the in order to find the radar cross section, so the basic phenomena behind the target detection is the electromagnetic scattering. So the scattering, it may be uniform or non-uniform based on the target shape. So we need to know what are all the process involved in the electromagnetic scattering. So whether it is in the uniform fashion it will going to scatter, or non-uniform fashion. And also we have to see when the uniform scattering happens, how to detect the target, and when non-uniform happening, how to detect the target. So all these process we need to know. And also scattering regimes, in which type of environment the scattering is happening, also the in which type of environment we need to know how the scattering is happening, and scattering regimes, and also the different types of the frequency, that is frequency region, whatever low frequency region which we have discussed, relay region, Mie resonance region, and optical region. So in these regions, how the radar cross section or radar cross section of a target which will be going to detect, so that is the scattering regimes. So with respect to the wavelength of operation, and also depends on the size of the target, so we need to know at what frequency we need to uh, apply the different parameters like transmitter power and also other parameters. So that scattering regimes we need to know, and electromagnetic theory basic fundamentals we have to know for finding out the radar cross section, like solving the Maxwell's equation, and also so the polarization, scattering matrix. So many other parameters is involved in finding out the radar cross section. Okay, so these are all the some of the basic important findings for finding out the target's radar cross section. So now coming to the IEEE definition of the radar cross section. So it is a measure of power scattered in a given direction from the target, okay, when we illuminate the target by some incident wave. So that is the actual IEEE definition of the radar cross section. So whenever you incident the wave with some particular power, so it will going to hit the target, and the target will be uniformly scattered in all the direction. So whenever it will be uniformly scattered in all the direction, if it is a uniform shape of the target, so then the return signal, whatever the scattered wave, so which will be coming to the radar receiver, we measure that power. So based on that received power and whatever incident power it is there, so we'll take the ratio of that incident and received power, and then including other parameters, we will find out the radar cross section. So now here the RCS is one of the basic requirement is to normalize the power density. So because the transmitter power, it may be in terms of watts if you transmit, but in the receiving section you will be getting in terms of microwatts or milliwatts, or in terms of nanowatts. So the power variations will be there with transmission and reception. So that's why in order to find out this RCS, we need to normalize the power density of the incident wave. So when we normalize, so whatever received also will get normalized with respect to received maximum power, so that it is easy to find out the RCS. Okay, so that's why the RCS is normalized to power density of the incident wave at the target, so that it does not depends on the distance of the target from the illumination source. So because the power, whatever power normalization happens, whatever distance we measure, that doesn't matter, because the power whatever you receive, microwave, nano, microwatt or nanowatt, or in terms of picowatt, we already normalized that one. So because of that, so whatever distance, the power only it will vary, but once you normalized, so there is no problem of the distance. So that's why once you normalize, so it does not depends on the distance of the target. So this one, once you normalize, so this removes the effect of the transmitter power level also, because whatever watts or kilowatts or megawatts, whatever you going to transmit, so that also we are normalized. Once we normalize that one, so again it will not, so depends on the distance. So the distance to target when the illuminating wave decreases in intensity due to inverse square spherical spreading. So this one, so whenever you transmit the signal with the power level, so this whenever it travels to a distance to the target, so whenever distance go on increasing, obviously the power it will going to reduce, so the intensity will going to decrease. So with the square of the spherical spreading, that means spherical means when you transmit the power in a space, so it will spread out with respect to like coordinates or angular coordinates. So that inversely it will be going to spread. So and also it is inverse square of the spherical spreading. So it will go on reduce the intensity with respect to inner square of the spherical spreading with respect to that angular coordinates. So this transmitter power level, so even if it is once you normalize, so this inverse square spherical spreading also, it will not maximally that we cannot it will not affect the distance. So once you going to transmit the power with a normalized value. So now it has been defined to characterize the target characteristics. So because RCS, it will be characterize the target characteristics in terms of like the shape and size, and what is the actual the shape of the target, and also what characteristics. So actually it will depends on whether it is the target is, whether it is absorbing material or non-absorbing materials, like that. So actually this RCS it depends on different types of the scattering parameters, like scattering parameters, in the sense scattering, whatever different types of scattering. The RCS generally measured by once it is measured in terms of the absorption, or it measured in terms of the scattering. The two methods generally they will use to find out the RCS. Say for example, if you are designing your radar system, so our radar system should be having very less RCS, because it should not visible to others. Okay, so in order to reduce that RCS, so there are many methods which we can employ to reduce that. Once it is, one of the method is absorption. So that we'll going to discuss what is meant by absorption. Whatever the incident power to our radar system, that power will going to absorb, and it will not reflect back. So once it will not reflect back, in the sense, so the other person we can he cannot find out our radar system. So that is one method. And another method, so instead of scattering or reflecting the power in the same direction whatever incident wave coming, so instead of that you scatter the energy in the other directions, so that you cannot able to find out our radar system. So these are the two methods they will employ to find out the RCS or reduce the RCS. So because the reduction of RCS is very important in any radar system or communication system, so the two methods they will going to employ is absorption method, and so scattering in a different direction, scattering energy in different direction. These are the two methods they will employ for reducing the RCS of a target. So now other target characteristics, it will depend, and the effects of transmitter power, receiver sensitivity, and the position of the transmitter or receiver distance. So these and all they will not consider, because consider in the sense, they will, once they will normalize, only the RCS, generally it will uh, tell the characteristic of target, that is whatever the area intercepts by the target for the reflected wave, so only that it will give. So the RCS actually measured in terms of square meter, because the target, it is in the area which is intercept by this target, which will be measured in meter square, so that's why RCS is measured in square meters. Okay, so now this IEEE RCS definition, so you can see the definition. So it is a measure of reflective strength of a target, defined as 4 times the ratio of the power per unit solid angle scattered in a specified direction to the power unit area in a plane wave incident on the scatterer from a specified direction. So that is assuming the the target which is there in the spherical region, so somewhere here target is there. So now the solid angle which is subtended by this sphere, it is 4 pi. Okay, so this 4 pi times, so whatever 4 pi times the ratio of the scattered energy in a specified direction to the incident energy. So this is what the actual IEEE definition. So whenever this r, the distance between target and the illumination source, so when it tends to infinity, so this will be the RCS of the target. Okay, so the main agenda is to depends on the scattering energy and the incident energy. So this is what the main measurement of the RCS. So now it is the limit of that ratio as the distance from scatterer to the point where the scatter power is measured approaches to infinity. So this, whatever the distance from scatterer to the illumination point, whenever it tends to infinity, so with respect to the scattering and incident energy, so it will find out the target, the RCS of the target. So generally this distance, so for the large distance, so this will tends to infinity. For small distance, so we can able to find it out. So this is the RCS of the uh, target. So now if you go on derive the how the radar cross section it will going to come. So how we can able to find out the radar cross section in terms of different powers, that is that scattering power and the incident power. So now the scattered energy of greatest practical interest, because it represents the energy available for detection. So whenever the energy is scattered by the target, so because of the energy which is scattered by the target, so only the whatever energy it will going to reflect or scatter, so only that is available for detection. So based on that scattering energy we will going to detect the target specification. So now the we'll going to derive how the radar cross section it will come. So it is, so let us take the incident power pi, which is in terms of watts per meter square. So this power density, so it will be incident on the target. So now whenever it is scattered, so the amount of power which is intercepted by the target, so is then related to the cross section, that is sigma. So this is a radar cross section, so represented by sigma. So with this units of area, which is nothing but meter square, so r square meter. So generally in the normal this thing will in the normal units we'll call it as meter square, but in IEEE standards, so they will in terms of SM they will use square meter. So the units they will represent in terms of SM, the square meter. But generally in all the physics and physical parameters, the meter square will be represented like this. But in terms of particularly RCS measurements, the square meter or meter square we can represent like SM. So if you are finding out the in terms of dB, so dB meter square or dB sm. So generally in all the IEEE standards, so this will be measured, that is dB sm. Okay, so now the intercepted power by the target, so which we can uh, measure in terms of the radar cross section, which is given by sigma into pi. So this will be measured in terms of watts, because the sigma will be in terms of meter square, so the power incident, it is in terms of watt per meter square. So if you multiply, it will be in terms of watt. So now the intercepted power is then either re-radiated or scattered power or absorbed as a heat. So as I said, so this RCS can be find out by many method. Why? One is the scattering the energy in the different direction to reduce the RCS, or it can be absorbed. Okay, so the re-radiated energy depends on these two things, whether it is scattered power or whether it is absorbed power. So whenever it is going to absorb the power, so then it will be like it will be dissipated as a heat. So because that's the power which is going to absorb, it should go somewhere else. So that's why it is in the form of heat, it will going to form. So this is absorption. So this we can call it as absorption, that absorbed radar cross section, and this is a scattering radar cross section. So depends on whether it is absorbed or scattered the energy. So depending upon that, so the target radar cross section will be calculated. So now you can see the scattered power, so depends on the incident power as well as the distance from the illuminator and the target. So this will get the scattered power can be written like this. And if you consider the distance r from the target to avoid the near field effects, that means if this distance it is larger, because near field effects, it will be the inductive effects, and those the near field effects, it will be there if the distance r, if it is less. Okay, so that's why we need to take r considerably large. So when you considerably take the distance r large, so then we can write the sigma as the scattered to incident ratio, the power ratio, and multiply by the 4 pi r square. So this will give the radar cross section when the power which is scattered by, it is given by ps, and incident power which is given by pi. Okay, so here the important thing is you have to take the distance considerably so large to avoid this near field effects. So now you can see here, so this is the plane wave which is incident from the source, so which is watt per meter square power density. Okay, so now whenever it is incident on the target, so which is the radar cross section of the target, assuming it as sigma. Okay, so then the target cross section area, so which is measured in meter square, so that represented by sigma. So it will either captures the energy or absorb the energy, okay, in terms of sigma into pi. So now whatever it will incident on this target, so it will going to scatter or absorb, as I said. So the two types it will happen here. One, it is scattered in the all the direction, and also it is absorbed. So if the target it is going to absorb the energy, means so the material which is consists of it as non-conductive material. Okay, so generally the conductive material, it will going to reflect the energy, so maximally only the non-conductive materials, it will going to absorb the energy. Even you can use non-conductive materials or semi-conductive materials to absorb the energy, where so we need to find uh, the RCS specification, that is how much RCS we need to reduce for the system. Based on that application, we will going to use the material for the target. So that is material for our device to reduce the RCS. So now it will going to reflect in all the direction, and also it will going to absorb. So now whatever the redirected energy, okay, so based on that redirected energy, so it will be calculated, so the sigma, that is radar cross section, so based on this equation, so that we have seen. So now this RCS is there fundamentally the ratio of the scattered power, so divided by the that incident power. So this is the actual based on this power levels, so we'll going to get the RCS. So now even it is the power or intensity of an EM wave is proportional to the square of electric or magnetic field. So because this power it is measured in terms of field quantities, is it not? So so once the wave is scattered, in the sense it will be scattered in terms of the electric and magnetic field. So once we know the electric and magnetic field, from that we can able to calculate the power. Okay, so or we can from the power whatever it is received, so from the power we can calculate the field quantities. So that is what here the power of the reflected EM wave, it will depends on the square of the electric or magnetic field. So we know that E into I, so that is generally we'll write whatever voltage into current which will be give power, is it not? Or if you take the resistance of the material, V square by R. So that if you consider R it as the resistance, it has 1 like that, so then it is directly proportional to the V square. So now electric field is directly proportional to the voltage, so that we can directly tell that, so the power it is proportional to square of electric field, or even it is the magnetic field. So now the unit cross section, so the unit for cross section, as I said already, it is the area which is intercepted by the target. So that area will be measured in square meters, so or maybe in the non-dimensional by dividing the wavelength. That is, if you don't want dimension, so generally we'll use with respect to lambda, because the target size or target specification also in terms of lambda, so like 0.1 lambda, 0.2 lambda, like that with respect to lambda they will specify. So that's why if you want undimensional or the non-dimensional quantity of this RCS, then we can normalize with respect to the lambda square. So whatever frequency of operation, so we can normalize and we can get the non-dimensional unit. So generally it will be in terms of meter square, or as I said, it is in all the IEEE formats it will be SM. So now with respect to electric field, whatever I said here, we have measured in terms of the power, the scattered power and incident power. So now if you want to measure in terms of the scattered electric field or scattered incident field, so it is a square of the electric field. The power it is proportional to square of electric field or magnetic field. So you can see here it will be taken as a ratio of electric field, and here it is a magnetic field. So now this whatever the power which is with respect to antenna gain at the transmitter side. Okay, so this power with respect to transmitter antenna gain, so we can represent like this, that is Pt Gt by 4 pi R square, and this sigma which is the area intercepted by the target. So now this AR is the effective aperture of the receiving antenna. So that with respect to receiving power, so we need to multiply this the effective aperture of the receiving antenna. So once you multiply this, then with respect to the receiving antenna gain or receiving antenna effective aperture, we can define the received power level as this one. Okay, so now we can get in terms of final equation, that is PTGT sigma AR by 4 pi R square whole square. So in the general normal radar equation we have seen, so that it depends on the radar cross section, effective aperture, and also the transmitter gain. Okay, so that is what we get in terms of the transmitter and receiver gain and aperture. So now what are all the radar cross section, it is what are all the parameters it is related. So it is position of the transmitter relative to the target. So because transmitter illumination it is important, so even though if you normalize the transmitter power to find out the radar cross section, but in order to get the reflected energy maximally, so that you need to position the transmitter properly relative to the target. Okay, so and position of the receiver relative to the target, this position also of the receiver also it will be important. So the interception of the target and reflected energy. So if you want to get maximally, so the gain of the receiving antenna, also its position to perfectly put the beam, whatever the antenna beam, into the particular direction. So that is position of the receiver also, it is important. And target geometry and material composition. So if this target geometry and material composition, it is depends on the what the designer specification to reduce the RCS. So if, say for example, if you are using the some antenna in our radar system, so that geometry, if it is like it may be square or it may be sphere. So if it is a sphere kind of thing, it will uniformly distribute the energy, and the square it will not uniform, only in particular direction it will be uniform. Okay, so this target geometry also, it is very important. So in order to find the RCS, and also in order to reduce the RCS for effective system design. And as I said, material composition, so it will be non-conductive material or conductive material, or it may be semiconductive material. To it will be application specific. So this is one of the major uh, problem we can address, and we can even work on this. So what are all the material composition we can able to reduce the RCS of the device, so in order to effectively design our system. And also angular orientation of target relative to the transmitter and receiver. So how the target is oriented, so that is also important. So because this target, either it may be large target or it may be small target, so that depends. So we don't know what is the actual target. So and also it will be important what frequency you are operating, or what wavelength you are operating. If the wavelength of the wave which is operating, it is relative to larger, if lambda is far greater than the target size. Okay, okay, if the lambda is far greater than the target size, in the one that is in the whatever you transmit the pulse, it is completely characterize the target. So if it is lambda greater than the target size, now if it is lambda, it is very very small compared to the target size. So then this will be scattered in a it will be uh, obtained in different regions. Okay, that means it will be act as an individual scatterer. So many scatterer combining together, and it will give the total RCS. So if it is lambda less than the target size, or far far less than the target size, that means if you are operating the frequency in the higher region, that is optical region or terahertz region, something like that. So then what will happen, so if the lambda is far far less than the target size, the target, it will act as a the big target, or the larger size target, it will act as a individual scatterers. So combining all those scattering energy, we will get uh, the total RCS of the target. So that's why it is very important, the wavelength or frequency of operation, so where you are going to operate. So that is what frequency and or wavelength, that is also important. And one more important parameter is transmitter polarization and receiver polarization. So that is even very important, because whenever you transmit in the linear polarization, if you are receiving in horizontal polarization, then there is no power it is going to receive. So only very less amount of power you will going to receive. Okay, so that is very important, the polarization, how the transmitter, it will going to send the wave in terms of polarization. Even you can use the circular polarization, LHCP or RHCP. So these are the two different polarization in circular polarization: left hand circular polarization and right hand circular polarization. So this left hand circular polarization, it actually with respect to the observer or receiver, so at what direction it will going to you will going to observe the wave which is propagating. Say for example, if the observer is here, so then the wave is traveling like this. And if the observer is here, if the wave is traveling in opposite direction, so depending upon the observer direction, we will going to decide whether it is left hand circular polarization or right hand circular polarization. Okay, so now if you even you can take your the hand, left hand or right hand. So if you take the thumb in the direction of wave propagation, okay, so either towards you or it is going away from you, then you can rotation of other fingers, you can decide the left hand or right hand circular polarization. So now the general notation for this, since the power which is measured with respect to the angular coordinates, so this indication of polarization, you can see the received polarization with respect to theta, received polarization with respect to pi, and also with respect to theta and phi, what is the transmitter polarization. So like this we have to represent in terms of angular coordinates, so what is the actual incident polarization and received polarization. Okay, so this is also very important factor, because based on this itself you will going to receive the power. Okay, so now there are two, as is already discussed in the earlier unit, so there are two types of the uh, the RCS finding out, that is monostatic RCS and bistatic RCS. So what is meant by monostatic RCS? Monostatic RCS, it will be receiving in a single antenna, that is the transmitting and receiving happens with respect to single antenna. So that is, once you transmit the signal and the target will be intercepted by the power and it will reflect back. So reflection, it will be taken through the same antenna. Okay, so that will be called as monostatic RCS. Once you find out the radar cross section of the target with the single, that is same receiver transmitter, then we'll be call it as monostatic RCS. And if the transmitter is from one that is transmitter and receiver are separated, or if the transmitting antenna and receiving antenna is separated, so then we will call it as bistatic. So now the sufficient distance is maintained between transmitter and receiver, so that the transmitted energy will not interfere with the receiving energy. Okay, so this is the angle where the transmitter or receiver or transmitting antenna and receiving antenna is separated. Okay, so now this is a scattering obstacle, so you can see the reflection which is happening in different directions. Okay, so bistatic cross section is for the case when the transmitter and receiver are at different locations. So as I said, it will be sufficiently separated by a distance. So the angular location of the target relative to the transmitter and receiver must be specified. So with respect to this target, so the angular positions, it should be defined for the finding out bistatic radar cross section. So now the forward cross section is the measure of scattered power in the forward direction, that is in the same direction as the incident field. So this is actually the forward cross section. So you can see here, so whatever incident field in the forward direction, the scattered field also it is in the same direction. So if it is the scattered power, it is in the same direction as the incident field, so then we will call that as forward radar cross section. Okay, so this is based on the forward scattering theorem. So based on that, we are going to find out the radar cross section of the target. So this is the difference between monostatic and the bistatic radar cross section. So now monostatic or backscatter cross section, because the scattering energy which will be same, which will be followed by the same path as the incident wave, so that will be called, that's why it is called it as backscatter cross section. So monostatic or backscatter cross section, so is the usual case of interest for most radar system. Because why? Because backscatter cross section is important, because we use transmitter and receiver for the finding out the cross section, same antenna we'll going to use. So because of the same antenna, with the help of the circulator or duplexer which we discussed, so that's why, so this it will be the backscatter cross section will be very much interested because of the usage of the single antenna. So in the general analytical case of RCS predictions, it is easier to do for bistatic cross section with the illumination of source fixed and the receiver position is moved. So generally where in the some applications where we need to move the receiver, say for example, if the person is there inside the building, okay, the person is there inside the building means the person is fixed inside the building, but we need to measure different reflected energy from that person. Okay, So through you just go around the building. So if you go around the building, that means the receiver is moving. So if your receiver is moving, the different direction, the scattering energy will be different. So in that situations, so this will be bistatic cross section will be, so measurement method will be used. Okay, so that one of the radar which will be can tell it as through wall imaging radar. So that through wall imaging radar, so through the wall we will going to see what is actually the person is there inside the building or room. So based on the movement of his based on his movement, the reflected energy will going to come. And if you place the position of the receiver and different location outside the building, so we can able to get the RCS predictions. So that is one of the example you can say. So if you are fixing one transmitter at one position, and you can receiver you can move it. Okay, so that is one of the example. And the radar cross section of target may also be a function of pulse width of the incident radiation. So this we have seen, the pulse width duration, it will depends on the target, and it will resolve the target if many targets are there, and also all those things we have seen. So because in this pulse energy is also important, and pulse width is also important, because this pulse width decide the how much repetitive pulse it will going, and based on the pulse repetition we will going to decide the pulse repetition frequency. And also based on that, so we will going to decide the target movement also with respect to stationary targets. In those situations, this tau is very important. So now if the pulse width which is large enough, which is compared to that is greater than 2 L by C. L is the target size, and C is the speed of light. So if tau is far that is greater than 2 L by C, then the entire target itself it will be going to illuminate. So as I said here, so if you have the lambda which is far greater than the target size, so that frequency also, and here the tau, the pulse width also, if both are greater, even if you lambda is greater, it will illuminate complete target. And even if the tau pulse, if the pulse duration is very much large, so that means, so your wavelength is very much large of the wave, so then it will completely illuminate the target. So now if it is go on decreasing, that means the frequency if you go on increasing, the lambda which will be go on decreasing, so that will again divides the complete target by individual scatterer, and it will be the scattered energy will be collected. Okay, so no, the notation as I said already, so generally it will be a cross section, it is measured in terms of area, so it will be measured in terms of square meters. So that is meter square which will be having a reference. So based on that, so we can measure in terms of the dB, the radar cross section in terms of dB. So generally it should be dB meter square, it is 10 log of sigma meter square by sigma reference, how much radar cross section with respect to 1 meter square of area. So that will be given by in terms of dB. So generally in all the IEEE standards they will use the dBSM. Okay, so sigma, the radar cross section in terms of dBSM. So generally they won't use dB meter square. Okay, so this is the notation which will be used for IEEE in order to find out the target in terms of the dB scale. Okay, so actually it does not necessarily relate to the physical size of the target, uh, the units of radar cross section. So but generally we'll use with respect to 1 meter square. So with respect to 1 meter square of area, we'll going to find out what is the area intercepted by the target. So that is called as dBSM. So now other radar cross section concepts, that is even if you have the different cross sections, so like extinction cross section, absorption cross section, and many other like different concepts are there to find out the radar cross section. So that will be given by different intuition for the radar cross section detection. So you can see here other radar radar cross section concepts, again it will be depends on the power itself, the power density scattered by the target in a given direction, but several other scattering definitions may also be given. So as I said, it is based on the absorption of the target, what is the power it is going to absorb, and also what is the power it will going to scatter. So based on the whether it is a back scattering or it is a forward scattering, so based on that forward or backward scattering, so based on that also we can able to see the scattering parameters or the radar cross section. So now coming to the absorption cross section. So as I said, so whenever you incident the wave, so the target it will going to absorb the energy. So how much it is going to absorb the energy, it is depends on the material whatever you are using, whether it is a conductive material or non-conductive material. So now if you use the conductive material, so if the conductivity is more like a copper, it will perfectly reflect all the energy. It will not going to absorb any energy. Okay, so maximally it will going to reflect. So if you are having the non-conductive material, so it will going to absorb the energy based on the material you are going to use. Okay, so the scattering target may also absorb some of the incident EM power in addition to scattering. So that depends on the material which you are using. And the absorption cross section is a measure of the absorbed incident power. So this you can measure how much incident power is absorbed. Okay, so as I said, perfectly conducting targets do not absorb power as the resistivity is identically zero, so they can only scatter, so it will completely reflect the energy. So if you use kind of a metals kind of thing like copper or other metal kind of thing, so absorption cross section is defined as the amount of power absorbed by the target, so in watts normalized to its incident power density. So this is absorption cross section in terms of power. So we can define like this absorption cross section. So and then again one more important cross section, that is extinction cross section. So what is this extinction cross section? So whether it is the power absorbed or scattered by a target which is removed from the incident wave. So that is whatever the incident power is there, so from that incident power if you remove this power, that is scattered or absorbed power, then you will get the extinction cross section. So that defined it as the power removed by the scattering or absorption by the incident power. So that will be given by the extinction cross section. It is uh, the sum of the total cross section plus absorption cross section. So this is gives the extinction cross section. So the total power removed by virtue of scattering or absorption in watts normalized to its incident power density. So this will be given it as extinction cross section. So somehow we'll remove the scattering and absorption powers. So and if you normalize with respect to incident power density, then we'll get the extinction cross section. So these are the other parameters which we'll going to use to measure the cross section. Okay, so we'll stop here. uh, we'll continue with the uh, total cross section and other things. Okay. Okay, so we'll discuss in the next.